We're all going on a summer holiday, or are we? And that's the question today. Are we taking a break for summer? What's your summer strategy? So we're going to be talking to the panel today, the G Plus Lunch Bunch, to get their ideas on what we should do for the summer, on what they're doing for the summer, and hopefully we'll have some tips to pass over to you as we go along. So we have the great panel today. We've got John and let's see, we have John, Randy, Scotty, and Vivek, and Jess is going to pop in and out as she can because she's traveling. So let's start. Let's start with, I'm going to ask, first of all, the question is, are you changing your routine for the summer? And we're going to start with John to see if he is.
I would say that I am, and I'm going to be kind of going into a learning curve as opposed to a creation phase. So what I'm finding is that while I'm always focusing on content, I'd like to kind of start working on the methodology that goes into posting, maybe getting ahead of the planning curve, take the time and go and learn the things that I've been meaning to learn so that it becomes that much easier when it's time to start actually putting content out.
Oh, cool. So you're using the summer to do some research and some education, some planning.
Yeah, I find, and maybe it's because I'm a Canadian, but summer is a completely different season up here. Almost all types of entire work flows are disrupted, where people are taking vacation. And I thought, we all kind of look forward to September as it all reboots. Maybe I start a little bit early and that summer slide and just sort of down tools a bit on some of the content generation and start really working on some of the processes that would support me and make it as easy as possible.
Okay. Randy, any plans for this summer? Or how are you approaching it?
Well, I think it's coincidental that it's kind of hitting its summer, so yes, I can say it's summer related, but I've consciously dialed back some of my own personal work. I've put my marketer program on sabbatical. I've dialed back to only publishing 2 blog posts a week, and the reason being I just have so much going on in my life, my personal life, and I made a concerted effort to do more in real life stuff than to sit online all the time. And I took this past weekend and did a little digital detox, so to speak, and I'm finding that it is noticeable in my own personality, but it is refreshing in my own health, and that's what I'm doing. So yeah, I'm going to take a summer vacation. It might last longer than the summer, though. It might be permanent. I don't see that really happening. I just see we've got, like I mentioned, a couple of things going on. My wife and I are relocating and going through a house building and stuff like that, and you got to have time for yourself, and it's very easy to get sucked into the vortex of the digital world.
Wow, I want to follow that up because there's a lot of things you brought up that I wanted to ask you. But I wanted to go down the panel first, so we're going to ask Scotty. Scotty, any plans, any changes for coming up for the summer?
Sure. Unlike John, who's going to be learning, and unlike Randy, who's detoxing himself, I'm going to be ramping up my efforts. I'm going to be just jumping in with both feet, and I don't know if I can double my efforts, but I'm going to try and max it out. Part of that's related to the fact that I recently officially launched the Scott treatment, so if ever there was a time to do it, this is it, and I have those opportunities. Though it's a little scary when the panel talks about detox and so forth. What am I getting myself into?
Well, let me put an adder on that, Scott. Honestly, it almost feels like to many of us, it's a 24/7 type thing, and just dialing that back some. I just don't think that it needs to be that way.
Yeah, more like a 16/7, right?
Well, yeah.
Even that's
12, maybe 12.
Let's hear from Vivek before we discuss this further. Vivek?
I think I would be concentrating more on return on investment of time and resources. That's what I'm going to do, because as an engineer, I always find it difficult to socialize anyway. And as I said in the comment, it does put me out of my comfort zone. So
to answer your question,
when you mean you're going to focus on return on investment, Vivek, are you meaning you're reassessing or revisiting your strategy, or you're going to do things? You're
Yeah.
thinking about doing things differently?
All of that. All of that.
Okay. But I mean, geeks rule now, right? I mean, the planet is ruled by geeks. I mean, you're right up there. You're the new hierarchy.
Yeah, do you find it
Yeah,
hard to
but
socialize as an engineer who always admits that? But do you find it hard to socialize with other engineers, Vivek?
not really, not necessarily. It's mainly because I find that I often get misunderstood as being a marketer, which I am not. Any message that I give out is misunderstood as being a marketing message, but it is not. So that means something I'm doing is not correct. So that means I need to reevaluate. And
Well, there's a lot of marketers out there who are mistaken for marketers. So I mean, I think that if you're in business, I mean, marketing is your business. So I guess maybe you're going to look at how important the social media aspect is, as opposed to more traditional ways. Well, good luck with that, Beck. And again, maybe the summer's the time to do that. So I want to go back to what Randy was saying in terms of retreating, pulling back a bit from the social thing, because I'll add what I think I'm going to be doing this summer, and I'm taking, first of all, I'm off for the next 2 weeks, so there won't be any raid bunch, but I'm also pulling back in June considerably. I'm going to, in terms of being online on social platforms, because exactly what Randy says, I think you get caught up on this treadmill. And I kind of pulled back a little bit the last couple of weeks because, first of all, it's the beginning of summer, so we were doing some gardening stuff, and I thought, I feel different. I feel like, wow, man, there's kind of a calmness thing. I'm not edgy. I'm not always, feel like I have to check what's happening or reply to somebody on Twitter right away. And I'm thinking maybe it's good for us to do that. Maybe it's good for us to pull back. And I mean, I definitely have a very strategic reason for doing that because I'm launching a new website and making my plans for the fall. But also, I think just as a matter of personal health, that it's maybe good to sort of be in touch with your human side a bit more, and get away from this constant pressure. And I tell you, at first, it's you feel kind of edgy, you get kind of the shakes, it's like an addict, right? And it's like you're always feeling you're going to forget something, or you're going to be forgotten about, or you're going to miss out on something. And I think we have to get over that. So I might have to go a bit cold turkey and just like make a break. And maybe next week when I'm in Maine, I might do that. I know damn well I'm going to be checking, whenever I get Wi-Fi or go to a cafe. But it won't be as much.
I think that's fantastic, Ray, because something that's really been bothering me the last little while is how addictive social media is. And I was in line the other day at a store, and a guy was going through the checkout, but his wife was up like this with her phone, and she was scrolling obsessively through what appeared to be a Facebook or an Instagram type site. And here she is in society, walking around, but totally obsessed with this useless media. There really is no value when you sit back and you look at it. And she's not getting anything out of it except maybe a small endorphin rush of some sort. But she's not present. She wasn't there.
Well, that endorphin rush is considerable. Right? Sorry, Scott. Sorry, Randy. I talked over you. What were you saying?
I think it's what John says. It's useless. But what it is we've become addicted to entertainment, constant entertainment, and that's the entertainment is scrolling through and a voyeur into other people's lives and stuff like that. Got to have it instantaneously. I've purposely stopped carrying my phone into malls and stores and things like that. I leave it in the vehicle because of that. I don't want to sit there and unless I know I'm going to be sitting down, my wife's going to go somewhere and I'm going to sit down and wait on her someplace. I might take my phone that time. But even then, I've started stopping that and looking around more, and trying to engage in real life more. Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. It's when you start auditing, you start tracking the power of it, the pull of it. It's just it's almost unstoppable. I think it's a combination of a couple of things that have morphed with technology and information, or we're becoming powerless to stop it unless you do, like you said, you make a concerted effort to stop. Well, one thing about too is the speed of information. You know, we're all hungry, and we don't want, you know, we don't want to miss that moment, right? However, you know, in a 2-hour period, if you take a 2-hour break, you can catch up on that 2 hours pretty damn quick. You know, and nowadays, and because as most of us have, crap flies through your feed anyway, so you're going to just brush over that. But you can hit those high notes, and that's what I was finding. I mean, why spend valuable time or miss golden opportunities in real life looking at crap?
What about I imagine that's personal as well as business wise, but people who, like businesses who have to be, who invested so much time online, building their online reputations, their authority, influence. How is it for them? How do they approach? Can they do that? Can they do the same kind of pullback as you and I will be doing for the summer personally? But you have to maintain a certain level, imagine, of activity online. Do you not, Randy?
Yes, I agree. But I think that at some point in time, there is too much going out of the funnel. I mean, you know, or out of the megaphone, you know, they don't need to have that. Yes, they need to maintain a presence. They need to, but I believe that businesses, just like we're talking about on a personal basis, get caught up in that endorphin rush too. I mean, I've got to be ahead of whatever, and you're never going to get ahead of it. There's just too much flowing out there.
You know, I posted something the other day, and then there was a long reply about, hey, you know, what is this always sharing, you know, thus and such 101. There are thousands of posts out there already on this, and I was thinking myself, and it was actually not something I was just repackaging something someone else had said, and it was kind of a human interest thing, and it took me aback. Well, what Google says is that if you want to get ahead, you have to put out content, and if you don't put out content, then you're going to eventually, and maybe sooner than later, become insignificant. So people are sharing stuff that's been shared before because they're saying, holy, you know what, we're going to have, if I don't put something out and try and do the best job I can, it's going to be the pits for me. So Google is really, you know, drumming up the business for themselves by saying, share out content. And there's a lot of, you know, repeat stuff, or a lot of stuff that's not all that value, but if you don't do that, then what?
I think people hear those marching orders in the wrong ear. I mean, Google says you need to create and share valuable content, original content. When people curate and repost the stuff that's been reposted a million times, that's not really, you know, getting you any kind of good. I mean, you know, it's important to curate good content that is of interest to you and your audience or your customer, right?
Yeah. Well, so, in this case, it's not curating. It's creating new content. I mean, it's new words, and it's putting it together as best as I can. It's just that, you know, there's nothing new under the sun. You know, someone has said, you know, how to create you need to create a great a great headline to capture the attention of your audience. So, you know, I can put that out, and it's not curating, and I'm using my own words, and I'm doing my own spin on it, but it's been said before.
It doesn't matter though, but it gives you an authority on and you start establishing your voice. That's got, even though it's been said before, Scott, if it's yours and it's your unique way of saying it, it's better than you sharing mine that's similar.
Let me just interrupt for a second, because I want to get back on topic, but this does have to do with content marketing, and you know, whether you're going to be re-examining that. And Scott, it's true. There's nothing new under the sun, other than you. You're new under the sun. So the way you formulate what you write and the way you express yourself is new. The trick is not to copy someone to an extent where they can't differentiate you from what you're, you know, what you're thinking, or someone else.
And so, bringing it around to the topic of the program, if I stop doing that for the summer, then I'm going to go away. Even if I am re-saying something in a unique way that's been said before, I at least have to say it. And if I don't say it and feed this beast, then someone else is going to feed the beast.
Well, that's the big scare, isn't it? I mean, that's what we're all afraid of. I mean, that's my kind of trepidation of doing this, of pulling back a bit for the summer. Is like, well, what will happen to me? I mean, will my brand diminish? Will people forget about Ray? Will I just float down the stream with all the other, you know, stuff?
I'm wondering if there's a point to make a definition. You got creators of content, and then you've got consumers of content. So I'm talking about a woman in line at the store. She's a consumer, 100%. She's got no platform. She'd probably do well in her personal life to put the phone down and look around a bit. But as a creator of content, I think what I hear and I see is just a time challenge, right? It's a lot to take on a self-publishing existence. And you can get out there, you can be that dynamic individual that gets the platforms out and gets going, but at a certain point in time you run out of time. And you need to work a lot smarter than working harder. And then reinforcing success. Okay, what is working and what's not? And that's just your content creation and everything you're talking about, trying to be a leader in a community. And it can be an active or reactive thing. In other words, if you look me up online, you're going to see I own a little small piece of the niche. I might know what I'm talking about. Or are you in another stratosphere where you're constantly on top? And is it that necessary to be that guy?
I think a lot of people too, John and panel, I think people let their ego drive them somewhat. I mean, like Ray, your concern is my stuff just going to drift down the stream? No, your fan base is there. And now if you just went click and turn the light out and shut the door for 6 months and didn't say a word, you might lose a lot. But if you're keeping a toe in the water, and that's what I was saying, I'm not quitting. I'm just dialing back to gather in some endorphins from the outside that I haven't been taking advantage of to stimulate my more creative side.
So we have to recharge, right, Randy? I mean, that's how I feel.
I think yes. And personally, I have felt that. I have felt a loss of. It's not that I lack of a subject matter to write about, or my creative thing is gone. It's not that. It's just that I feel like I've been consumed by something that is taking some other good from me, and I don't want that.
That's the, I think, second time endorphins were hinted at. John said, talked about somebody looking at the phone and not connecting with the people. I'm not sure which endorphin or dopamine or one of those things that relates to. I think one of those two. It's an addiction, and those are meant to be. You are meant to get them naturally by interacting with people, interacting with things, and so on. But often it just.
So social is a new drug. Is that what you're saying, or online?
Yeah, I'm gonna give up some social to give me more time for my other addiction, which is drinking whiskey every now and then.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna go there, Randy, but I know that you brought that up.
So has anyone heard of a 12-step program for social media?
You might have to keep that to yourself, Scotty. There might be a niche right there for.
I might, given my summer strategy, I might become the poster child.
Also, okay, so speaking of summer, then, is summer the kind of like, would that be the time of, if you're going to do this, is that a particularly good time to do it?
Become addicted to the internet?
No. Take that to pull back, to detox, as it were.
Detox. Do the 12-step program.
You have a comment from the Vivek.
Oh, let me see. Okay, I'm going to blue box you, Vivek.
Andrew Hatchett says, I absolutely hate seeing reshares of the same thing from several different people.
I agree with him, but there's a way to filter that, that you can do that. But that's exactly what happens. I mean, we're friends and we share things, and all of a sudden you start looking around and you're going, well, dang, man, that same article just popped up in my feed by 7 of my friends, So you have to be careful with that. I mean, I do know that people are annoyed by that. The idea is, though, hey, Vivek shared something, and I like Vivek, so I share it with my audience, and I've got a different set of eyeballs. But the reality is that we have a lot of the same shared eyeballs.
And that's true of all platforms, but I think particularly true here. I noticed that because I look at a post and I can look at my email notification because I have certain circles that I get notifications from, and I'll see 6 of that same article being shared by those 6 people, and it's all the time. Every time one person shares, the whole gang shares, and so you see this thing all the time. So I guess it's up to us, I imagine, to manage our circles or notifications.
Well, to me, see, you're doing it right, Ray, in that you're looking at it. You understand that that's happening. Those other 5 probably are not. They're just that's an easy way to just keep blasting stuff out. You know.
There's an interesting metric out there where they're tracking all of this stuff that happens on the server itself, and some of the metrics come back that people are not even reading the stuff. They're just instantly sharing it because they'll share it within 3 seconds, and there's just not enough time to consume it.
Right.
Wasn't there a April Fool stuff from can't remember which internet site it was, but it was exactly that point. They created an article which essentially said that people will share this without even reading it, and that's what exactly people did.
Yeah, we've talked about that before, probably during these lunch things in a while, because that's been going on for a while. Something I've noticed. I once got an article shared that I wrote shared to me in a sense that, hey, you might like this, right? and I wrote back. I know the guy that shared it, right? And I said, yeah, I found that real interesting. And he says, I thought you would like it. And I went, I said, did you actually read it? Yeah, it's real good. And I'm like, I didn't want to embarrass the person, but I thought that's proof right there. I mean, they certainly wouldn't have read it. I mean, my byline was there, but they didn't. It was weird. So yeah, you see that, and you know damn well they're not reading it, and that's. I think we've talked about that. To me, I love for you to share my stories with your audience if you think it's of value of them, But what I would really like you to do is read it.
Oh, I can't agree with you more. It's excuse me. It's a pet peeve of mine when I see stuff like that happening, and I'm thinking, because when you share something, you're recommending it. That's how I see it anyway. So you have to be behind it. And who wants to put something out that they really don't know what's in it? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. But again, we're so pressured to put content out. I remember your mom or my mom anybody's mom would say, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. Well, we could sort of say, if you don't have anything good or valuable to say, don't say anything. Wouldn't it be nice if the web operated that way?
But isn't
yeah, we're 5.0.
But Ray, isn't that what traditional marketers did all along?
What?
They marketed. They were marketing things that they weren't really understanding what they're selling or marketing.
What, truth in advertising you're talking about?
Yeah, and not really advertising, marketing. Really.
Because I was thinking you were referring to blanketing a neighborhood with flyers or whatever, so that shotgun thing where one of the advantages you have on the web is that you can target, you can be more focused.
This is what I challenge you to do, Ray. Write a blog post and say in your blog post that I wrote this blog post so a few people, just as an experiment to see how many people actually read my blog post or just share it. And I guarantee, just kind of fluff that up a little bit, and I guarantee you people will share that without reading. And put in there, if you read this blog post, please do not share.
That reminds me of a small anecdote where artists would submit their portfolios for reviews, be it photography or art, and or a similar type of professional catalog, and they'd put a yellow post-it halfway through the catalog to say, please remove, so that if they got it back, they would know that it was actually reviewed, right?
That's great.
And that's true. I mean, that goes back to Mark Schaefer's original content shock thing, and your concern, Ray, with taking some time off. I mean, we are addicted, as Vivek said. It's an addiction. Take time and read the story. Consume it, educate yourself, learn something, refresh what you've already learned or something like that, and then go, I think Ray might enjoy this. Ray and John, I'm going to share this with Ray and John, and kind of shrink your universe, and I would say your ego, down a little bit, because I don't think the world's going to stop turning with all this content that just keeps streaming out of people. You
hit a very good point, Randy, and that is actually to read something. Because what I've noticed, and I think it was one of the first alerts that I had, is that I have about 6 books on my iPad that I sort of started or get partially through and then hop to the next book. I haven't actually finished a book for a while. And it's the same thing with articles. Like, this is really interesting. I'm going to learn a lot about this subject, and I'll get through it, and then before you know it, something else has come along, and I may have bookmarked it but never get back to it. And I think it just moves too fast.
Well, we've been doing this little format for over a year, and we've had a pretty set time frame. We changed the time frame one time, but we've been here every week for over a year doing things, build off. But I see people all of a sudden pop up, and they're a marketer or something, and they just pop up, and they've got sponsors, they've got this, and I look back and I try to do some due diligence, like, who is this person, and you find out they don't really have any credit. I mean, they haven't really done anything. It's very easy for all of us to build a facade out there in this digital space, and you got to be careful. I mean, it's very, all of a sudden you got some person and they've got some whiz bang looking blog or whiz bang looking website that they're doing some stuff, and you need to be careful with that, because, well,
I just want to talk about the value of the content. Do we become addicted to just consuming and reading? Oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. But when do you stop? When do you stop and pull it back and actually implement, word for word or point for point, what that blog post was advocating?
Exactly my point. And maybe a good time to do that, as I'm going to segue into the topic, is the summertime. So let's finish off the conversation with basically, if you're going to do all that, if you're going to pull back, detox, and I so agree, you had some amazing things to say, Randy, about the addiction and the ego, and it is. When you see your name or a byline, whatever, your little thing, your ego gets stroked. But if you're going to do that, what is the thing that we really should not pull back on? What's the thing that we should maintain in the summer?
Your credibility.
No, I think the question is how.
How? What do you mean?
Yeah, you maintain credibility, but what should you do?
How do you maintain that credibility in the summer?
Yeah.
I think you should just keep doing the good work you're doing. You just don't have to do as much of it, and take time to do some other good work in another sandbox.
So if you're a small business and you've been struggling all year to build a community around your brand and all that, but you want to pull back a little bit, maybe half your staff's away on vacations, whatever, and you don't have the time, what should be your priority in terms of your presence online?
Not to hog it, but to go back over to what John said he was going to do this summer. I mean, if you're a business and you're kind of going to take something, go step back and take a stock of what you've been doing, and take the time to reevaluate your business plan or your marketing plan and refresh it, and then get it set to launch in September or something like that.
That's it. Right on.
I think that's an excellent idea, and maybe a couple other ideas too. I mean, in the summer, people are more transient; they're traveling, so make sure your site is optimized for mobile. I mean, that's very, very, very important, because people, as was it Randy or John? It was you? Is it that lady in the shopping mall? She could be looking at your website. So make sure that it's done.
That's another thing that John didn't age the person in front of him, just said a lady. But if you do start looking around now, you've got to realize that every demographic pretty much has a smartphone. I mean, they're walking around. It's not the teenager, the 30, or the my age. It's even older, and I'm old as dirt, but it's even older that they're all doing it. Wow. Well, yeah, they got some, but it's got big big screen on it. So, but I mean, you got to look at that, and they are mobile. You bring up a good point that we have become that way. And I thought John was going to say that she was scanning for deals at the checkout thing, like coupons or something, But there are more and more people doing that. That if you just kind of if you put yours aside and open your eyes in the mall, you'll see that.
The other thing I might suggest, and this, as I'm thinking about my strategy as well, is that people, because they do travel, it's an opportunity to get out of the office and take photos of where you've been, and especially with Google Plus Stories now, you make a series of photos and it'll make a nice little album for you, whatever. But you can share these things and maybe start playing with Instagram or some new platforms that that you haven't kind of had time to look at during the rest of the year. Vivek, who's up?
Yeah, it's. Jessica.
Who's Jessica? Oh, Jessica. Oh, Jessica.
She finally made
the girl with the sparkle.
All right.
Yeah, she has a wacky idea. What if we rejiggered our strategies and created processes to have others, sharers, more when on vacation, or focusing on other things, so our name was still out. Our name was still
It's a long one.
Yeah.
She's broke it down to. Let's see if I can read that from the page. First of all, the people would only be willing if they read and support it because they initiate the post. We build our strong collaborative network, and it's a way to really support our individual and collective successes. We do have some different thinking to do to create a process that's easy to follow. So I'll invite everybody to check that out because there's more to that comment. So thanks for bringing that up, Vivek. And
there's something not to forget, though, and it ties back into what Jessica's kind of bringing up. And the summertime is a good time because it'll allow you to take time from creating, but you created a tremendous amount of content already. So go back and repurpose some of that. Not necessarily, but just reshare it. I mean, you've got some evergreen content that's very good. That maybe it's been 6 months or 8 months or something. Share it again.
That's a great tip, and I actually had that included as well because I'm going to be looking at that because again we go so fast that we forget that we have stuff that people haven't seen, and I'm thinking of doing that, for instance, with my newsletter. There's tons of stuff I put out for the last almost 2 years that I haven't been able to get back to, but I imagine and I'm hoping that people find value in it who haven't seen it maybe a year ago. So on that. Thanks so much, guys, for joining us. Again, I'm taking a bit of a break for 2 weeks, so there won't be any G Plus Lunch Bunch for a couple of weeks. If you have topics or ideas for topics, just please write them in. Any of us, be happy to accept them. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks, and I'll be refreshed and detoxed. Take care.